How's it, guys? This is where it all starts, right here in the fish tank. This is the heart of the system. The light's not great now, you can't really see the fish nicely, but they've actually grown really well. Fortunately down here in Durban the temperature is nice and hot, so these fish, these tilapia, like warm water. For you guys up in Joburg, I don't know if you want to use fish or if you want to do hydroponics or aquaponics, but I would suggest the aquaponics, of course. It's the most natural, most organic way you can go. Wayne said you wanted some photos, so I think what I'll do is I'm just going to take a little video. It'll be so much easier, and I'll just post it up to YouTube, and then I'll let you know, send you the link. Cool. So basically the pump in here runs constantly. It runs 24/7, except in South Africa because we have power cuts all the time. So, but fortunately with these fish, they can handle 2 to 3 hours of no water flow, no oxygen additional added into the water quite comfortably. They're really, really tough guys. So I do have a generator for in case we're going to run for longer than 2 hours off, but if you're putting other fish in like koi and stuff that are more sensitive, then I would suggest you definitely have a backup power supply and air pumps or something. But anyway, that's another story. Basically as I was saying, the pump runs constantly, so it's basically sucking up all the fish waste, nutrient rich fish waste water, and pumps it all the time over these beds. I've got 2 of these beds over there and there. You can see I did a real budget build because this is an experimental system, so I went real cheap. I used real cheap stuff. That's my splitter valve because I'm running from 1 pump into 1, 2, 3, 4 different places. I'll tell you more about that just now. But the pump run, this is a very important part of the system, is to have this flood drain bed. To keep your system simple, unless you want to go and put in protein skimmers and biofilters and crap like that, but that becomes complicated and expensive. This is a gravel bed, so what happens is the water runs in here perfectly, constantly. It fills the bed up from the bottom. Once it reaches a predetermined height that is controlled by this valve, that's an auto siphoning valve. It's very, very simple in design. It's a bit finicky to set up, but once it's working well, it works. Once it gets to a certain point, it will automatically drain all of the water out of that back into the tank really, really quickly. So the way my system is set up, I try to follow textbook guidelines. They recommend that you flood and drain your beds at least 4 times an hour. So I've got mine to around about 15 minutes to 20 minute cycles. So it'll take 15 minutes or so to fill up, and it will drain the water out in 1.5 minutes. So what happens is you get, I don't know if you're going to see it now because the light's dark. Sorry, I have to turn the camera sideways. Let's see if I can drop my phone in the water. See at the very back there, you can see a little pipe sticking out. That pipe is coming from the bottom of my grow bed over there. That goes into the tank. So when that water rushes back out of the grow bed, you get this incredible rush of water onto the tank, onto the top of the fish tank, which oxygenates the water, and obviously that's very good for the fish. And all of the fish waste has been spread across this giant gravel filter system. You could call it a filter system as well as your rooting system, and then that in turn becomes food for the plants. What I've done as an additional thing here, purely because I want to keep my system as organic as possible, I'm growing my own food. This is duckweed, which I'm growing in a separate bed. You can see I've already sprinkled some on top of the tank there because it was supper time. This stuff grows real easy. I don't know how well it's going to grow up in Joburg though. I have to check. what the temperature is going to do, because you guys get real cold winters. So I'm sure there's a ways around it, because a lot of people do these systems in very cold climates. Just have to do a bit more research on how you'd overcome those challenges. But you could obviously just feed them normal food. You may not be able to grow this yourself, but nonetheless, that is the one thing. And then I had these spinaches. What I'll do also is I'll send you a photo of what the system looked like at the very beginning, which was on the 6th of the 11th that I started the system. So we are just under a full month of system running. These were that big when I put them in just under 4 weeks ago. So that's the growth that you get on the spinach. I had to pull the spinach out of these beds here because it was just they were just getting too big, and everything else was. I didn't have my spacings worked out well to start off with. I just chucked as much shit in here as what I could. So yeah, things started growing real fast, and I quickly ran out of space. So that's where this horizontal farm idea came in. I saw this online, so it's something that I'm also trying out. I'm also going to look into vertical farms. But your leafy greens and things, I mean, look at this lettuce. Your leafy greens grow exceptionally well. Look at the frilly lettuce. Your leafy greens, like I'm saying, grow very, very well in this. Over here, you'd want to plant your things that require good roots stability. Plants that are going to grow tall, and plants that you aren't going to be harvesting the entire plant at the end of crop time, if you know what I'm saying. You're going to keep picking things. So like tomatoes, green beans, you'll eventually take them all the way out. I've got gem squash growing here, and I've got some butternut growing here as well. And in the very front here, I've got some green peppers. So these will become permanent fixtures of the grow bed. All those things there will be completely harvested out. So I'll pull them out and replant. That's why I've got the long rows, so I can have like a conveyor belt going. Fresh plants in the front, harvested plants to be taken out at the back. Yeah, man, it's a really, really cool little adventure. I've got a worm farm going here as well. We're running out of light here now, but yeah, so that's great stuff too. You know, all the clippings and things that are left over from the plants I chuck in there, and then every now and then I take a handful of worms and I chuck them in the fish tank. Chuck some worms on the grow beds. They destroy, or they consume all the old dead roots from harvested plants. And yeah, man, it's actually it's something that's really impressed me so far. I read a lot about it, and I watched a lot of video clips on YouTube and that, and other guys. There's a lot of information available, but it's as specific to each person as what it is to each area as it is to each climate. So there's a lot of experimentation that's going to have to happen from your own part. There's certain things that are cast in stone that you can't get away from, but there's a lot of stuff that you will have to figure out for yourself that's going to work for you best. Just purely where you locate the system will also make a difference, because you've got problems with wind. I've had to make plans here. As you can see, I've put elastic bands to try and keep the bases stronger, because the wind comes through, southwesterly comes through here, and it completely annihilates those plants. I probably lost 30% of my spinach already. I mean, and that's how much I've still got left. So yeah, other challenges that come with where you actually physically want to place your system. But yeah, man, you can give me a call anytime, and I will I'll help you guys out if you want some info. Cool, man. Cheers, guys.